Hi guys, happy Friday. Welcome to class. Make sure that you have out your pencil, possibly a highlighter, and your spiral because you will be taking notes today. Okay, make sure you have already answered the Google Classroom question and hopefully even had some time to work in your Delta math just to kind of move you forward, right, and help you practice your skills. And today's learning target, it is different. We're going to do something new today. We're going to determine quotients of fractions. And the word quotient simply means to divide. Okay, so we're going to divide fractions today, and I think you're going to like it. For our agenda, you are going to do the Google question. You are going to take notes, and I'm going to provide you those notes right here in the video. If the notes become overwhelming, I'm going to ask you just to stop the notes, rewind it, and play it again, and just keep playing it until you're comfortable with the concept. There is some Pear Deck practice, and the practice is all going to be provided in this video. I'm going to ask you to stop it, try to work the problem, and then play the video again, and then you can see if my answer matches your answer. And at the very end of class, I'm going to ask you to take a minor check, and it's going to be over the multiplying fractions that we've done, and I am going to throw one dividing fraction in, and of course you can use your notes. That's not a problem, and your homework is simply Delta Math. So at this time, I'm going to ask you to stop the video for a moment and get out your journals and open them up. And when you're ready, I want you to press play. Hi guys, so it's time for our notes. When you look at your notes, we're going to put the date in the corner. Today is Friday the 30th, so I hope you have a happy Halloween tomorrow. This is page 16, and we are going to be dividing fractions. And our essential question is simple. How do I determine quotients with fractions? So if you need a moment, go ahead and pause and copy this down. If you're ready to go, we're going to start like we pretty much start every time with our steps. Okay, so this is going to be section 1 of our notes, the steps. So in step 1, you're going to write the problem. And I know it sounds weird, but when we have all these virtual classrooms, it's important to get the information off of the computer screen and onto a piece of paper. And then what we're going to do is, you know what? We're going to learn something new. So what we're going to do is going to be new. Step 2, I'm going to put a star by because it's what's new. This step says that we are going to take our problem and you're going to rewrite it. But when you rewrite it, the first fraction is going to stay the same. Okay, the first fraction is going to stay the same. Then you're going to change your division into a multiplication sign. I know, did you hear me? That's going to be weird. You're going to change your divisions into multiplication because there is no rule for dividing fractions. There's not a way. So I guess you could say there is a rule. They created this multiplication process for the division of fractions. So this one's going to stay the same. This is going to turn to multiplication, and then your second fraction is going to be something really cool called the reciprocal. Okay, so that's kind of our new thing today is reciprocal. So another way to say this is to keep this the same. You're going to change this. You're going to change it to multiplication. And a reciprocal simply means you take the fraction and you flip it. Okay? So this guy right here, keep the same, change to multiplication, and flip the fraction, which is reciprocal. And you can shortcut that by saying keep, change, flip. So let's draw a line. Nope, don't draw a line yet. I was just kidding. Let me finish the steps. Let's go to number 3. Here's the cool thing. When you change it to this keep, change, flip, or multiplying by the reciprocal, you just now follow your multiplication rules that are on page 15. So now I'm just going to write down cross simplify because that's going to be your next step. We're going to borrow that from multiplication. You're going to cross simplify, and I'm not going to rewrite the steps for cross simplify because if you forget, you can always go to page 15 to review those. After you cross simplify, you're going to multiply the numerators. And then after you multiply the numerators, you're going to multiply the denominators. And guys, that's it. Like, let's go back and look at page 15. That was our last step. And then we drew a line and went to our example. So the cool thing with dividing fractions is you're really using your old information. You just have this one step here that I am going to try to highlight so it kind of sticks out for you. The new step is when you rewrite the problem, you're going to keep the first fraction the same, exactly how it looks. You're going to change it to a multiplication problem, and you're going to use this interesting thing called the reciprocal. Okay? So now I'm going to draw that line that I was talking about earlier. And we're just going to write some examples about what a reciprocal is. Because all I've told you is you flip it, but I want to make sure that you totally understand what I'm saying. A reciprocal is defined as taking a fraction, for example, 3/4, and taking its numerator and denominator and changing their locations. So literally the 4 is going to go in the numerator and the 3 is going to come down to the denominator. So 3/4 has a reciprocal of, and I'm not going to put an equal sign because they're not the same value. I'm going to put an arrow to say that I'm going to go from 3/4 to its reciprocal 4/3. Okay? If I gave you another one, like let's say I give you the whole number 5, and I need to know the reciprocal of 5. Well, you have to use the information from the class before. To have a reciprocal, the number has to be a fraction. And when I look at 5, I'm like, 5's not a fraction, 5's a whole number. But last class, we totally talked about making 5 into a fraction by taking and dividing it by 1. So if I say 5 divided by 1, I have the fraction 5/1, which is the same thing as the whole number 5 that we started with. So here I'll put an equal sign. This whole number 5 is the fraction 5/1. The arrow is going to say what the reciprocal is. This is that flip portion that we were talking about. I'm just going to take this and I'm going to flip it. So the denominator becomes the numerator and the numerator becomes the denominator. This guy is known as the reciprocal, this fraction of 1/5. Okay, so I'm going to draw a line. That was section 2 of our notes. And section 2 is simply to talk about what is that reciprocal that Miss Daniel was talking about, okay? And it's right here. We're just going to take the numerators and denominators and switch their positions. So I'm going to pause for just a minute, and you may, if necessary, stop your notes, go back, copy down what you need, and listen again. I'm going to pause, and we'll be back together in just a moment. All right, guys, welcome back. When you're ready, we're going to start on section 3 of your notes, which is simply going to be the example portion. And I'm going to start with just a plain problem. And I have 6/7 divided by 3/4. Okay, so that's my step number 1. I write the problem down. And then the next step says, guess what? You're going to take this problem and you're going to rewrite it. And it's going to be an equivalent math problem, meaning it's going to give you the same answer. But we don't have a way to divide it like it is, so we have to use this new method. The new method says you're going to keep this fraction the same. So 6/7 is going to be 6/7 again. This guy I'm going to change to multiplication. So I'm going to put a multiplication sign, and you can use the dot. Today I'm just going to use the X so that it really looks different than the division sign. And then this guy, you have to write this 3/4 as the reciprocal. Reciprocal. And if you recall, we did 3/4 reciprocal up here. You simply take and you exchange the numerator and the denominator. So step number 1, step number 2, step number 3, cross simplify. So I'm looking for that bikini, as we would say in class. Is there a numerator and a denominator that share a common factor? And the answer is yes. This 6 and this 3 do share a common factor. And I am going to divide that common factor out. And that common factor happens to be the number 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. Okay? So in this step, I've always asked you to rewrite the problem again. So I would totally rewrite it as 2/7 times 4/1. I'm going to tell you there are no more bikinis, because when I look at 2 and 4 here, they do share a common factor, but they're both in the top, and we can't take two numerators and cross cancel. There must be a top and a bottom value together. So there is nothing else. 7 is prime, and neither one of these are divisible by 7. And 1s, well, there's nothing you can divide out of 1 except for a 1, and that's not going to help me. So at this time, I'm going to do step 4, okay? So step 3 was in here too, and step 4 says multiply your numerators and then multiply your denominators. So what I'm going to get is 8/7. 8/7, which is a great answer. However, it is what we call an improper fraction, and that's where our numerator is bigger than our denominator, and we have to simplify it. So what we do is we take 8/7 and we allow that 8 to fall inside of our division, and then that 7 pops up. And we're going to divide it just like we did with decimals, but we're not going to use a decimal today. We're going to take our remainder and put it in a fraction. So 7 can go into 8 one time, and 1 times 7 is 7. I am going to subtract, and I'm going to get 1. Again, I am not adding a decimal and a 0. I'm recognizing that that is my remainder. So my final answer is going to be the whole number 1, the remainder of 1, and my denominator is 7. So this should be 1 and 1/7 as my final answer. Okay, I'm going to take a break and pause, and then I want you to study the problem. Go back and watch it again if you need to, and then we'll move on. Hi guys, we're going to finish up with just one more example. Okay, and I'm hoping that we can get my monitor so that you can see the bottom half. So if you'll give me just a moment to adjust that for you. It looks like I'm not really helping myself here. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so our next example is going to say 10/11, and we're going to divide it by the whole number 5. Okay, and I'm using our same numbers from above because it helps me learn my reciprocal. So we have written it down, and the next step is to rewrite it, but to use our new rule of same, change, flip. Same, change, flip, or simply we're going to keep it the same, change it to multiplication, and multiply by what's called the reciprocal. So this is going to say 10/11 times, and then remember, I have to make this into a fraction by giving it the denominator of 1, and I'm going to change it to 1/5. Then I'm going to simply go in here and find that common denominator and divide out these 5s. I shouldn't say common denominator, common factor, pardon me. And so this is going to become 2/11 times 1/1. This is the 1 and this is the 2. When I multiply straight across, I'm going to get 2/11, and it is proper. The